how to edit this Christmas or holiday escape template. So this template comes with 4 pre-made challenges for you. If you have the Valentine's Day or the Halloween templates, they are the same challenges. And I've done it that way you become familiar with them, your students know how to complete the challenges already, and it should make it easier on you throughout the year if you use these various holiday templates, these holiday escapes, for your students to learn them and for you to be able to edit them as well. So you have your challenge cards. These can't be edited, of course, they're just printable. And then we're going to get into the challenges. So challenge A, you can type your skill here. You can change the font on any of this, of course, and you can edit the directions. The directions currently just say solve each problem. This is really, and I'm going to make it green just so you can see it right here. That's really the only part, if I was you, that I would change. Because the rest of it is explaining to students how to actually put the challenge strips together on the next slide. They'll be printed and cut by you in advance. But so you can type your questions here, or if you are an English teacher, you want to type a sentence there, a passage, or whatever, and then they can match up answers. This table is adjustable, so you can slide over. So if you need more room for your question, not as much room for your answer, you can do that. And then you will go ahead and leave your answer section blank because your students are going to answer there. Type code directions here. I'll get to the code in a second. Your code can be numerical if you are using locks. It can be a phrase. It can be anything you really want it to be, especially for this challenge. You have a good bit of flexibility for how students figure out whatever the code is. So let's say students answer this question here, and they're going to write their answer in this box. Then what they're going to do is they're going to have these strips that are going to be pre-cut by you. They're going to write their answers in the boxes. So for example, over here, if this first question, if the answer to it was 14, they'll find strip A and they'll write 14 in here. So they'll write all their answers down, and then they're going to arrange them numerically, least to greatest, greatest to least. It's up to you. Once they are arranged, a code will be revealed. So what I want you to understand with these strips is that these letters can be changed. If you don't want to use letters at all, if you want to use numbers, that's fine. Currently, as is, C, E, H, F, G, B, A, D would be least to greatest. You can align your questions the same way or not. But the way you type in your code is to use these X's. So what I typically do with this is I will type the code is, and then keep going. Type whatever you want in there. And you can eliminate these boxes. So let's say you don't need this whole second row of boxes. You can delete them out. I don't want you to think that just because there's X's here, you have to use all of them. You can use spaces if you want. So if you don't want to have those X's there, like if you would rather say the code is, and then blank these, space these out, so it's easier for your students to read, you can do that as well. It's very flexible. So the idea is for you on this challenge page, have it be done in the order you want your students to put it together, and then you'll cut it and mix it up. So you need to go through and do your questions and your answers first, make your own key. That way you know the order that you need these strips to be in. And then obviously you don't have to drag and rearrange, you can just change here. So if you want to change these around, if it ends up being in a different order, you can do that here. But that's how you use this challenge. And then students will obviously have these strips. They'll write all their answers on them. They'll put them in order from least to greatest. It'll reveal the code, and then they'll write their code here. A good idea for these is to laminate them and have your students use dry erase markers. That way you don't need so many copies of this page. They can just write on it, and then they'll erase their answers off before the next group comes along. So that's challenge A. Challenge B, right now the directions just say simplify each expression. Again, you delete that part. So you'll type your problems here. I'm just doing super simple ones right now, just so I can show you what to do. So you just type your problems in. So we have 4 plus 1, 10 minus 8. So we know we're going to need an answer of 5 and an answer of 2. What I recommend with this, honestly, is to delete the type here's. Print this paper off. Honestly, you can just leave all these as ones right now. Print this paper off. Once you get your problems in, actually cut it, write the answers, lay them down on top, and then you can decide what you want your numbers to be. So what this means is, let me just screenshot this real quick. So students, when they have their little puzzle pieces, they'll take the answer card that they get and they'll lay them over top. So once they are done, they're going to have their page will look like this. And I'm just doing this really quickly just to show you. Obviously, these will not all be number ones. And there will be answers on here. But I'm showing you this just to give you an understanding of how the code works. Now, these ones through here, your directions could say your code is to find the sum of each row. Make sure they know the difference between row and column. Obviously, there's not straight down columns here. This is your code. So currently, the sum of the top row would be 2, 3, 3, 2. You don't want to leave it as ones because then it doesn't matter if students get anything right at all because the answers will be the same. So you can change these numbers. If you want the sum of the first row to be 12, then change this to an 11, leave that as a 1. If you want the sum of this row to be 6, you can do obviously 2, 3, 1. But you'll change these numbers based on what you want the code to be. And again, this does take work. The idea is that once you prep this once, you can use it year after year. All right, so that's how you do challenge B. Challenge C, this one has a spinner. So solve each problem on the outer ring of the circle. This is going to be the directions you really want to change. Spin the inner ring to match up the problem in the correct answer. Record the numbers, and so on. So let's say outer circle, our problem is outer circle number 1. Here's the spinner. You'll want to type the problem here. Again, I'm just doing super simple questions right now. 5 plus 6. Your students will type in that 5 plus 6 is equal to 11. If this was, you might want to have 11 here. So this will lay on top of, let me try to grab all this together here so I can group it and show you. Oh, well, you would print this. And then once it's done, I've got one pulled over here. It's a little color's a little different. But it would have, so let's say we had 11 here. Obviously, this is not correct. So the idea is that once they lay it on, they'll spin it around, they'll match up. Okay, so 5 plus 6 has the 1 next to it. The answer has the 4 next to it. So the inner circle number is 4. The sum is 5. Divide by 2 clearly is a decimal. But again, you can change these directions to not say divide by 2. You can change it to not just maybe the sum is all you want for the code. So you'll delete the column. It's very, very, very flexible. And then type code directions here. Your code might be, your code is the final answer for rows 4, 7, 9, and 1. And then students would type or write those numbers down there. But the idea here, again, you have to prep in advance. You're going to have your question numbers here, your problem numbers here, and you want to make sure you get a desired result on this last column. You have 2 versions of this. You have one, let me get this one off of here, that does have numbers on it and one that does not. That way, if you just wanted to handwrite in a number or not even use one, it's up to you. Again, very flexible. Challenge D is another puzzle type problem. You really don't have to change the directions on this. Put the puzzle together by matching each problem with the correct answer. This can go for a lot of definitely math skills, and if you teach a different subject, you can change that. Well, yeah, round to the nearest 10th when necessary, sorry. So you'll have your puzzle. As is, you would want this to be done. If you don't like the numbers the way they are, you can change them. Again, change the font if you want to. It's up to you. But then you're going to type in your question and your answers matched up just as this already is. And then optional distractor, this allows you to scaffold. It'll make it obviously more difficult for students to put the puzzle together if there are distractors. If you want it to be easier, all you have to do is just delete anything that says optional distractor. And then this is the only part of the puzzle you have to fill in. Clearly, this is going to be a lot easier for students to put together. So that's up to you whether or not you want to leave those on there. So what they do is these will be pre-cut. They'll use this paper to lay the puzzle pieces on as they are building it. And then per your directions here, your code might be to take the sum of each column, and then that is your code. Or the sum of the diagonals, that is your code. Sum of each row, anything you want. You can adjust that and make it fit your needs for your students. They have a code sheet here that they can answer on. This is not editable. You have hint cards. So whatever your skill is or your topic for challenge A, if you want to give them hints, you can type hints here and then print. Their student work booklet here. All that's really editable here is your challenge itself. And I don't think I mentioned that. It's editable up here too. If you don't like this scenario, you can change it. And then nothing else in the booklet is editable because it's just for student work. But that's how you edit the printable version of this. There also is the digital version, and you edit it the exact same way. The challenges are the same way. Type or insert a problem here. Leave answer here because this is where students will type. You can type your code directions, you can type your problem, you can type your skill. Same thing here, you will want to prep this in advance. So same thing if we are saying and let's say we want to delete this. Code is, I'm not going to do all of it, but you keep going. You will want to rearrange these. Oh, those aren't grouped together here. I'll make sure these are grouped, but they will be grouped to where when you drag, like yeah, B is, when you drag these around, the letters go with it. So you want to have these mixed up on this page so your students, when they go ahead and drag them and put them back together, obviously they actually have to do the work and it's not going to be already done for them. So let's see here. I'm going to quickly group this. That way it is done for you. Regroup. Okay. And then hint card, type a hint or delete the slide. Same thing here. We saw this on the printable version. You type your problem, type your directions, your skill, students, and then you'll have your answers here. And you can change these numbers as well. So if you want to go through and change these, type your answers, and then students are going to cut and paste their answers from that slide to this one. So when they're done, all their answers will be laid here, and then they can find their code based on your directions. Let me change all these back. Okay. And once again, a hint card. Challenge here, same thing. You give them the questions, or I'm sorry, this is where they type in their work. Their questions, you type here. And then this one, you have your answers typed in. Students drag it, slide it over, and then they click right here and they can spin it to line it up to find their matching problems and answer numbers here. So this one takes a little bit of work. But again, once it's prepped and ready to go, that's it. Same thing here. Obviously, type in your questions and your answers. Delete the word optional distractor if you don't want it. Mix these up. I don't even make it pretty, guys. Like when I mix these up on the slide, you just kind of drag them around. Students can find what they need. That one I need to group together. But don't make more work for yourself than necessary. All right. And then students will take these puzzle pieces. They can honestly just rearrange them on this slide. They don't have to put them here. Or once they get them in the correct order here, they can cut and paste the whole thing together onto slide D, or challenge D, and then get your code there. But that is it for your editing instructions. you need to play around with it for a little bit. There is a learning curve involved if you've never done this before. By giving you the flexibility to make your own code, hopefully it's a little bit easier on you to get these answer choices done and the numbers you need. It can be very, very basic. You don't have to make it super challenging for yourself. Obviously, if you teach upper level students, you might want to make the code a little bit more difficult to decipher. That's up to you. That's the beauty of this, is you can do whatever best fits your needs as a teacher and your students' needs in terms of their levels and their ability. So good luck with this. If you make something awesome, which I know you will, I would absolutely love to see pictures of it being used in your classroom.